In this video, we will discuss Threshold 3. I'm not going to discuss 4 and 5, although in your material that I send you, I will include my PowerPoint for those two thresholds just to give you an idea of the end. But I encourage you to read the book for yourself, and it is a really great book in how to reach people for Christ. But I think that these first three thresholds apply so well to what we've been discussing. Threshold 3 is simply opening up to change. There is a big difference between being curious or interested and being open to change. To use the farming analogy, it is as if the ground has been tilled, that's building trust, the seed has been planted and watered, coming uh, curious, and now a turning point has been reached. In these ripe conditions, will the seed break through its case and germinate? Will the process of growth take a significant turn? Sometimes the environment leads quite naturally and easily to change. For some people, when they learn about Jesus and and are challenged to change and to become all that they can be, they very quickly are ready to just really dive in with both feet and just enjoy the things of God and to continue to grow and develop. But normally, for everyone that easily makes this transition, there are many more who may struggle to become open to change. It's hard to change, it's difficult to change, and it is important to change. Remember the rich young ruler in Mark 10? He wanted to hang out with Jesus and follow him around. He seems to have trusted Jesus, threshold 1, and came to Jesus with real questions and curiosity, threshold 2. But when Jesus challenged him to experience real change in his life, in this case, rethinking his relationship with money by selling all that he had and giving everything to the poor, the trusting, curious young man walked away sad. Becoming open to change is very difficult. One reason this part of the journey is so difficult is that it dawns upon us that we need to see the world in a new light. Questioning your worldview and accepting the Christian perspective is an enormous change. And even for those that have grown up in the church, it is difficult to be in a high school and to live a faithful um, life that is very clearly Christian. And for some, that is nearly natural. For some, they get it and they're nice and they're everything, but they're Christians and they're willing to walk through whatever it's necessary. But there are others that is a very, very bad or hard decision. And sometimes it's not even a decision. It's more like they're a chameleon. And when they're at church with their church friends, they're one way. And when they're at school, they are another way. There are people that are adults that are like that. There are businessmen who come to church really, really strongly, you would think, following Christ, but then they go to work and they have no concept of bringing Christ to work. So this can happen to any age and it can happen to anybody. So we need to understand that and be ready to help people to see that you have to be all in. You can't be a chameleon. The first thing we must be though is patient as the journey unfolds. Many people will go back and forth between wanting to change and being terrified of change. And sometimes they'll go from being very openly Christian um, in one situation to just being quiet in the other situation, not wanting to rock the boat. The voice of patience and compassion invites them to consider, what if following God completely is worth the fear and the uncertainty? Patience gives the gift of space and the permission to explore. You offer freedom as you help friends ponder the what ifs. We can encourage them to imagine what it would be like if they jumped all in, to imagine what it would be like to be willing to do anything that God asked them to do, to be willing to go to school and to be openly Christian and to not be obnoxious, but to just be openly Christian. And we need to let them know that we are with them, that we care about them, that we're their friends no matter what, but that we love them too much to allow them to stay at the same place. Secondly, we need to pray for them. Given how deep these struggles are for our friends, we must pray. They are in the process of making profound decisions about their life and direction and faith. And especially when we talk about youth or our kids in school, they are making decisions today that they will live with for the rest of their lives. And we have a responsibility to pray for them that God will help them to get all in. And for that adult that comes to Christ, we know that Satan will attack, and we need to pray that God will help them be all in. Next, we need to challenge as Jesus challenged. For most believers, challenging people and raising the bar for them is the most uncomfortable activity to engage in. In 3 consecutive chapters in John, we see Jesus' way of nudging people toward openness, but it was very different according to the person. Number 1, Jesus touches the pain of the broken and honest. In John 4, Jesus meets a woman with a past. He wants to help bring her pain out into the open so that he can offer her, something better, his own living water. And in this case, he used gentle affirmation. When she begins to crack the door on the truth about her brokenness, he honors her several times for her risk of self-disclosure. After choosing the path of affirmation, Jesus uses gentle honesty. He puts his finger on her core issue, the whole truth about her. How do we help people talk about the difficult and disappointing things in their lives? First, we ask good questions and listen compassionately. Also, we can speak honestly about our own lives. In fact, our stories of struggle and God's redemption may be the most powerful gift of hope that we can offer to those that are trying to cross that threshold into trusting God to be completely in every area of their life. Secondly, Jesus mobilized the self-pitying and fearful. We can see that in the man by the pool of Bethesda in John 5. Jesus does not honor this man for his truthfulness about his brokenness as above. This man does not need to think about his painful situation. Instead, Jesus calls him to do something about it. He calls for change. He says to him, "Get up, pick up your mat, and walk." In verse 8, Jesus speaks with authority, and he doesn't give him any time to make excuses. Sometimes our friends need a nudge to act. We need to give them ideas like, let me pray for you 10 minutes a day over the next week. And come and talk to me. Help me, tell me the things that happened during the day so that I can encourage you, or such things as that. Thirdly, Jesus agitated the complacent and glib. Because of his background, Jesus decides that Nicodemus needs to be agitated and confronted in love. He needed someone to shake him out of his complacency. Fourth, Jesus connected the dots for the confused and the befuddled. In John 5, the Jews came to some really strong, incorrect conclusions about Jesus. They were set against Jesus because he was healing on the Sabbath and because he was calling his God, his Father. Jesus didn't try to affirm them and help them see their brokenness and hardness of heart. He doesn't call them to action. He simply makes a lengthy overview of the events. He talks about his relationship with God the Father. He outlines what he's been doing, commenting that they shouldn't be surprised. He simply connects the dots for them. The thing about Jesus is that he gave people what they needed. He served people by challenging them in a way that made sense for who they were and where they were. Remember that people very often do not follow God to the extent that they should because they really haven't realized what the choice was. So, how would you create an atmosphere that is conducive for spiritual growth? Perhaps in your Sunday service, in your youth service, in your small groups. Well, first, you want to choose relevant topics. Choose topics that people are already thinking about. Movies, pop music, and current events are a good place to start. Romantic relationships never seem to fade as a relevant topic. Secondly, find unique angles. Put yourself in their shoes and come at the topic from their perspective, asking their questions. Jesus had an unexpected word for those who came to him. Similarly, seeking God, please seek God for a specific word for the ones that you are speaking to. Third, use the arts. Music, art, and drama connect deeply and they move people. The arts are a gift from God, and God can sidestep our skepticism when the arts stir new feelings within us. The soul is supposed to cry out to God, and we must create events. We must uh, and they can be many different ways, but we need to help people get in touch with their yearnings for the living God and their need and desire to follow God with all their hearts. We are serving as missions directors, my husband and I now, and one thing that we want to do is to have special events that challenge people who think they might be called to missions, even when as teens, to be sure that they are seeing the possibilities, and then create a safe space. In contrast to those that are already following hard after God, I'm hesitating because I realize I said create a safe space, and I'm not into safe spaces, but we do need to create a safe place that they can ask questions, that they can explore spiritual things, and that they can um, understand what it even means to follow God with their whole heart. Young people today and older people, all of us, we are different. We think different than we did before. But we don't think so different that we cannot be challenged by the gospel. I'm going to stop there, and I hope that you have enjoyed these lessons. I feel like I've been hesitant in talking. I'm not used to talking to a machine, and what I love about teaching is the interaction in the class, so this has been a sort of a stretch for me. But thank you for your patience, and I hope that you have learned things that will help you, and I do hope you will check on in this book, and I'm going to send some other things that we haven't talked about, but that I think would be of use to you. So, God bless you, and just have a great day, and I hope that this is a blessing. We thank you. Goodbye.